we are going to talk about gigs, different kinds of gigs that singers can have. So this is sometimes people get kind of caught up with or get paralyzed or not sure where to start in terms of how to start singing. It could be you, it could be your students, it could be anybody. Someone on the Neuro-Vocal teacher page just posted a few days ago, I have this student, he's a teenager, he's a really good singer, he's really hungry to sing out and perform. And how do I get him started? So that was the question that kind of came up. And this is there isn't one answer to that. So let me be clear. There isn't an answer to that, except that you can't get them started. So I will say that you don't get them started, they get them started. But other than that, that's just a huge question. It's as individual as the singer themselves. But we can talk about various venues that might be available to that singer. So, or to you, or any singer. So that's what I want to talk about today. This subject could be sort of a seminar in and of itself. And what I hope is that in this short little bit of time that we have, I'm going to spark an idea for you, for either yourself or for your students. And it's maybe something you hadn't thought of or something that makes you think of something you hadn't thought of before. You do not have to take notes. I have a PDF download for you today that is free. So no strings attached. Hi Grace, if you are on my mailing list as Grace is, then you got this in your email today, this PDF download, which is very attractive, I must say, because I like to make things attractive. Even though I'm not an air sign, I still like things to be pretty. Okay. So I'm going to introduce myself before we get going. If you want that PDF download, you can get it any number of ways. I'll talk about it as we go on, but just know that that is there for you. For now, I'm going to begin by introducing myself. I am Meredith Colby. I am the author of Money Notes, How to Sing High, Loud, Healthy, and Forever. I am now working on the second edition of that book because we got to update things when we're talking about neuroscience, and that's what this book talks about, is neuroscience, how to apply some principles, really effective principles of neuroscience to singing for popular styles. So it's, and I'm teaching a class on that right now. I have a little thing. One of the classes is underway, but the other is still open. Now, I do want to tell you that I only let 12 people into each class, and the last class filled up pretty fast. So I do want to tell you, if you're interested in getting information about this class, do it now. Because we're going to start on April 7th, and I expect this class to fill up. So please get your information about it. If you will save $300 if you get the early bird time, which is, you still have quite a bit of time for early bird, but still, go get the information so you can see what it is, ruminate on it a little bit, come back, pull the trigger, join the class, have fun with us. If you are here with me today or later, if you want to share any feedback, any questions, any comments, I always love to see that. Hearts and thumbs are always appreciated. Hearts, thumbs, always appreciated. Hashtag that. Anything that makes you say, hey, there's a thing, please share it, because that's the currency of social media, as you probably all know. So, okay, so my download today, boom. If you can DM me, you can, if this is YouTube, you can look in the description below and you can get the download in those places. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can just put my gig in the comments and I'll be able to send it to you probably through the social media platform that you send it to me on. So try that. We can always try that if you're uncomfortable, but I do love to hear from people. So the PDF download is going to list there's two versions of the list. There's the list that describes each of the things that I'm going to talk about today. And then there is also just sort of a checklist of what you can expect from each of these. So if you're somebody who wants to sing in a way that people aren't really paying attention to you because you want to have the freedom to not deal with your stage fright or not make mistakes, that's indicated. If you are somebody who, on the other end of the spectrum, demands the undivided attention of your audience, those are listed too. There's how you're going to get treated, what you're going to get paid. All these things are in that grid at the end. So it's a nice little thing to have if you're interested, for you or your students. Now, before we begin, I'm going to give you some unsolicited advice. So if you don't want unsolicited advice, skip through this part. The first piece of advice is this: do your homework. You may think you know how a gig goes. If you have an opportunity to visit the venue or a venue that is like the gig you are interested in, please do it. If you have the opportunity to sing as a sideman in an ensemble of some sort, in a band, please do it. Do not start your own band when you've never been in a band. Just that kind of, like, do your homework. If you can find written material or videos or whatever, find out about the gig before you do it. It will save you pain and time. The other piece of advice, there we go, Singer Summit. I wanted to plug this. So this is Danielle. Danielle Tucker runs this amazing thing every year called the Singer Summit. And it's like days worth, 2 days, 3 days of all these professionals giving you advice and telling you how the business works and encouraging you to get started or to bring your career to the next level. So go to thesingersummit.com and sign up for that. There are different levels, and the first level is free. So you really have nothing to lose by signing up. And I'd really encourage you to do that, because that will help you with the thing I just said, which is the do your homework part. That would be that would fall under do your homework. And then the other thing is the pay respect ratio. And I need to tell you this. This is not 100% of the time true, but it is 98.5% of the time true. I am totally making up those numbers. The pay respect ratio goes like this. The more they pay you, the more they'll respect you. The less they pay you, the less they'll respect you. So you think intuitively, oh, I'm going to get to sing for this group of people and they don't have any budget. They told me they don't have any budget, but I'm going to go sing for them anyway. I guarantee you they will not treat you well. There will be nobody there to greet you at the door. They won't have a place set aside for you to perform. They won't have that. They'll be like, oh, you have to plug in your PA. We don't have an outlet. I mean, they'll be like, it won't be good. It will be bad. But if you make them pay you money, they will be nice to you. They will have somebody there to greet you. You will be able to say, here's what I need in order to have a good performance. So, Chris Stapleton got paid a lot of money yesterday, I guarantee you, to sing the national anthem, and they probably treated him really, really well. The more you get paid, the better you are treated. Please do not work for nothing. They will not appreciate it. Oh, there's and thank you. Got an amen from Kim Nguyen in California, thank you, who is a gorgeous singing harpist, and she has learned this firsthand. I got an amen from Kim. Thank you, Kim. And then the last piece of unsolicited advice is, if you are looking for a kind of a gig, be the person who is buying that gig. Does that make sense? So, I'm not going to be able to go through the ins and outs of how to procure these engagements on every single issue. However, what I want to tell you is the best way to find out where and how these gigs happen is to be the person who is looking. So as we go through, I'm going to say, this is a club gig, this is a public space gig, this is a house gig, whatever. And as I say those things, that person, the club, the public space, the house, if I was that person, where would I go to find a singer? Okay. That's how you're going to find out where you need to be so that they can find you. That probably was not explained brilliantly, but I hope you get the gist of that. Okay. So let's start. Let us begin. Let us begin. First, so these are, when I say let us begin listing places that singers can sing. This is not an exhaustive list. And if you have any ideas of places, and in fact, I bet Kim has some ideas of places because she did some really interesting gigs over the last year. So if you have any ideas that I'm not sharing, please share them because more ideas are better. You never know what's going to make somebody go, hey, that's a good, I could do that, you know? So the first thing is clubs and bars. Clubs and bars are, there isn't anything that is consistent about clubs and bars. They are as unique as each business. What is fairly consistent about them, though, is that they underpay horribly, and they will make you work to get the gig. So if you are going in there as this is my band, until you have a relationship with that club, you will have to bug them. Don't be thinking, oh, I'll send them my EPK and then I'll call them once, and then if they don't call me back, they don't want me. No, no, no. They still probably want you, but you just have to call them 14 times. And every single time, you're going to have to act like it's the first time and you're just so happy to hear them, talk to them. So, yeah, just know that they're a really good way to build your audience. And there are definitely some benefits to them, particularly if you're in a big group. Like if you're a band, that's kind of one of your only choices. That's not true. There are other choices when you're in a band, but in terms of public venues, bars and clubs are great and consistent and always there. So, and in the wintertime, if you do not, like Kim, live in California and you need someplace to play in the winter, clubs and bars are the way to go. You know, I think I'm going to open this up because I do actually have other notes for this. House concerts. Now, house concerts are a thing that many people do not know about, but it's a great way to sing particularly if you are like a classical singer, a singer-songwriter, and musical theater singer, cabaret singer, somebody who really is wanting to do a concert where people are actually paying attention to you. The house concert circuit is wonderful because it really is people hosting you as an artist in their home through a list, their invitation list. And at these gigs, it's normal to sell your merch, and it's normal to build your email list and build your fan base. And it's a whole thing, and you kind of have to get into it a little bit. That's when you're really going to have to do homework about. But if you're that kind of an artist where you want people to actually be listening to what you're doing instead of just talking louder than you're singing, it's great. It's a great option, house concerts. Private events. Sorry. Private events. Private events can be, they can be anything. They can be anything from, somebody you're related to who's having a birthday party, to a big fancy wedding downtown, to being flown to a sales meeting on a private island. I mean, they are crazy. Wait, what? Danielle Tucker, who I just mentioned, her band just went and did some big golf open. They got flown somewhere fancy. Oh, I wish I knew the details, but I don't. But they can be very fancy, or they can be very simple and very private. So private events are a way to get paid a reasonably professional amount of money. I always say reasonably because the musician pay scale is just depressing to me. Don't get me going. Anyway, but corporate parties, birthday parties, anniversaries, holidays, corporate, all kinds of stuff. Weddings. There's a lot of that. Those gigs are normally 3 to 4 hours with breaks. The repertoire is typically covers, standards. It's not an original music situation more often than not, unless you're kind of famous already. And then there are society events. What was that? Oh, I was going to take a little break. Just in case you just joined me, put my gig in the chat and I will send you this PDF download of all these things that I'm talking about today. Or else you can DM me, whatever. And And I want to remind you that if you have any interest in learning neurovocal for popular styles, which you should if you're teaching popular styles, can I get an amen from anybody who is here? It is a very effective. Oh, good, Kim, I'm going to say that. Very effective way to teach popular styles. And I have a class that is coming up in April. It's only 12 people in the class. I'm pretty sure it will fill up. I'm almost positive it will fill up. So get thee to my website and get the information about it, okay? Oh, Kim had a great idea. Funeral services. That is true. I had a student who literally her whole thing, because she wanted it to be small and simple, she wanted life to be small and simple, and she also wanted to gig. Her whole everything was weddings and funerals. Funerals and weddings. Weddings and funerals. That's all she did. She had a pianist she worked with. She had a little portable PA system. Weddings and funerals. She was busy a lot, which was cool. Kim also highly recommends the Neuro-Vocal training and certification. It has changed her life as a teacher and a singer. Okay, I did not pay her to say that. She just said that. So thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. And also the weddings and funerals thing. That was really good. That's a great thing. Society events. So these are large events like fundraisers, weddings. They're at larger venues, tend to be at hotels, banquet halls. These gigs go by different names in different places. So like in California, they call them casuals. And here in Chicago, it's called a jobbing date. They usually have different names. So typically in these situations, the band leader is the star. So you're the side man, unless you want to be the band leader. But if you haven't done this before, you would be the side man. So I, the wedding event planner, am going to hire the band leader, and the band leader is then going to hire you. So it is a particular skill set that will be needed, but it's also a really nice way to make, an extra $300 on a Saturday night. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. And in any city that's of any kind of reasonable size, you're going to have these kind of bands. So if you're thinking you want to not start your own thing, but make some money doing somebody else's thing, it's a good call. All right. Parks, street fairs, and festivals. So if you have an act, if you have a band, a jazz trio, whatever you're doing, even if you are doing, there are rap artists who just, bring along recorded backing tracks and do their thing as solo artists. Depends on the street fair, of course, depends on the park, the festival, but these can be really nice things because they are, once the person who books you knows you, they will tend to keep calling you for other things. They tend to be booked by government agencies or like a city special event department, a park district, a chamber of commerce, those kind of things. And they will book anything from a solo act, like I described, to a big band. It just depends. The gigs are usually like one or two sets that are 45 to 60 minutes, somewhere in there. It's okay to sell merch. And they really, generally, they like things that are a little out of the ordinary. So if you're into something like ethnic music or a tribute band or a really particular thing like I'm doing Cole Porter Standard, something like that, they often really like that kind of thing. All right, public spaces. Public spaces. So this is the same and also different as the one before. So these gigs are also booked by government agencies or public spaces like your city's special event department or a library or a museum. Like here in Chicago, all summer long, they have jazz on Thursdays. So every Thursday, at the Shed Aquarium, which is our big aquarium downtown. And every Thursday, there's a different jazz ensemble playing there. So that would be an example of that. So, and of course, the people who are enjoying it, your audience hasn't paid for that. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Depends. I think it depends. Everything depends. So they're either part of sort of ongoing program like I just described, or they'll be like a one-time event like Springfield's 4th of July party, So gigs can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours. And usually you are free to sell merch if you have merch. Sometimes it can take a little bit of detective work to track down who's in charge of booking these events. But folks, if it happened last year, it's going to happen again this year. So you can find out who booked it. Online spaces. So online spaces, oh my gosh, there's just a plethora of online spaces now. It used to be like YouTube or die. Now there's so many online spaces, literally hundreds of places that you can post your videos online. So any length, any repertoire, no booking required, any genre. So, and don't underestimate the value of having a video or 10 or 30 online, because you never know when you might be able to use it as sort of an audition or a promotion. You can watch yourself become a better singer because you're going to make yourself better by doing these things. I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan. Even if you keep your online space just private for just you and your mom, you can still do that. Schools. Nearly every school district has a budget for enrichment programming. These programs cover everything from a safety demonstration to a natural history to musical offerings, or a combination, music and natural history together, something like that. I just pulled that out of the air. But there are people who are like, that's what they do because they are musicians and they want to work in the daytime. And you can get a really nice, year's worth of work lined up where you're working 4 days a week between 10 and 2 or 10 and 1. They're pretty amazing. I remember seeing, before the pandemic, I remember seeing an article in the Chicago Tribune about this guy who was making, I hope you're sitting down, making $120K doing these school programs. He had 4 different programs that he did. They were very clean. They were very packaged, easy to describe. And he worked 3 or 4 days a week doing one of these programs every day. And he made 6 figures doing that. I was like, you go, dude. Good for you. Okay. Retirement places. Speaking of working in the day, again, if you want to sing in the daytime, these audiences of older people are delightful, enchanting, wonderful audiences because they sit and listen to you. They don't just talk while you're singing. And then afterward, they come up to you and thank you for being there. It's a beautiful thing. If you are a theater singer or a classical singer or someone who is or a jazz singer, these venues are just wonderful. They don't pay a lot, but they will pay something. Make sure they pay you something so that they're nice to you. So the gigs are an hour, between 50 and 70 minutes. They're really, really nice. It can be you and a pianist, boom, done. Or if you play piano, you by yourself and a PA, done. They're really nice. And the people who book are usually nice and usually very open to having you contact them. They want to know what you have going on. The sad part is the person you work with this year probably won't be booking you next year because they have huge turnover in that industry. Sorry, but that's just a thing. Okay, children's events. Again, we still seem to be on the subject of working during the daytime. Children's events. These can be private parties, birthday parties, nursery schools, public events like libraries or park districts. Typically, the space and the budget for these are pretty limited, so it's going to be a solo duo thing, maybe a trio here and there. Venues typically do the booking themselves. So if you're going to sing at a library, it's someone it's a librarian who's booking you, right? There are mommy groups, there are homeschooling groups that use musicians for various things. It's nice to have a product to be able to say, these are songs about friendship, or these are songs about nature, animals, whatever, but have a way to talk about what you're sharing and why they should be interested in it. Oh, I missed that. There it was. Children's events. Busking. Don't you ever be poo-pooing busking. Busking is an amazing way to get loads of performance experience with very low pressure and make a surprising amount of money. You can make really nice money with busking. The only thing I will say to you about busking that's absolutely a thing that you have to make sure you do is make sure you are in compliance with the local laws. Every little township has rules about busking, and you really don't want to not follow those rules. You want to follow those rules. So, yeah, busking's awesome. We're coming to the end. We just have 2 more. Cruise ships and resorts. So these are booked by agents. So you're going to want to find the agency that is booking for the place that you want to be. But you can find a lot of information about these gigs and these agents online. In fact, let's say, for instance, you want to work for Princess Cruises. You can find out not only who is booking them, but you can also get a little skinny back in the interweb from people who have worked for Princess, and they'll tell you how you're going to get treated and what the actual lowdown is once you're on the ship. So I'm just saying, that's just an oh, by the way kind of thing. So different types of jobs have different pay scales. So for instance, if you're one of the dancer singers in the Saturday night act, it's going to be different than if you are the leader of the trio that they have in one of the bars every night. So they're different pay scales. The audition requirements are usually really specific, not hard to figure out, no tricks. And they sometimes will actually pay you to get there. Sometimes, not always. But it's a nice way to get paid to travel, cruise ships and resorts too sometimes. And then the last thing is staged events. So staged event can be like a cabaret or a songwriter night or a musical review that takes place in some kind of venue that caters to this sort of thing. So off the top of my head, I can think of 5 that are within a 30-minute drive of me that do this kind of thing. I can go on their website and see who's going to be on their stage, right? So they actually cater to an audience that is interested in new music, or we got a thumbs up for that, new music or artist-centric music. So those, most times they have some kind of a situation where they're like, you have to sell this many tickets for this much money, and we're going to keep this much, and you'll get that much. And, just read the contract. They all have agreements for that. And they almost all let you sell merch too. I actually have never heard of one that doesn't let you sell merch. So that's another thing. Okay, there we go. I just went through way too much and way too fast. But please feel free to get this download that has all of this written down, and then also a little grid that will tell you the type of gig, the people who will be there, if you're going to get paid, whether you'll be treated well or ignored, if it's an evening gig or a day gig, all that stuff is good information. So anyway, thank you very much for being here with me today. I hope this was helpful to somebody. Thank you, Grace. I hope this was helpful to people today or now or on the replay. And if you do get a gig, I want to hear about it. Okay? All right. Bye. Have a great week. Bye-bye.